Recording started. Now today we're going to talk about our release that just happened yesterday. It's been a while under the way. There's a lot of new stuff happening in WorkPoint. Let me start with a little introduction. You have probably all received the release notes a couple of times over the last few weeks. We tried to inform in a better way this time. We have released a lot of new things, but one very important thing I'd like to talk about first is that we have also done a lot of focus on improving the quality. Some of you might have experienced a few bugs or small annoying things and have been in some trouble with some of our products over the last period of time. We have since early this year have a very strong focus on making this history, and I'm very happy to say that we have succeeded. We have fixed really many bugs in our product. We have improved and implemented new test procedures. We have manned up on our test department, so we have a huge focus on making sure that whatever some clients have experienced of stupid bugs in the past, that is history. As I also wrote in the release notes, there's been over 100 bugs fixed in this release, and we're down to a very low number of bugs, which I'm going to demonstrate with this little screenshot from our bug overview. So currently what we have in our product suite, not just one product, but all of them, is a total of 5 bugs that we know is released, and very few of them are older than a month. And these would be very small things that don't make a lot of problem for people. And in our test, this is the column 2, we have currently 3 bugs that are found in test and hence not being in the released product yet. So we have focused very hard and very much on getting our product better, not just with features, but also making sure that what we ship is creating no trouble for neither clients or partners. We hope that this will make a difference. I'm pretty sure it will. Of course, all software has bugs. We all know that, but we are minimizing these things. And of course, should you experience something, we're always happy to hear about it on the support@workpoint.dk. So, on to the new stuff. What's going on with our products? A little list of what was in the release note, what's new. There's more than this, but these are some of the highlights. Our WorkPoint archiving, which I'll talk about in a minute. We have now more languages. We have a new architecture. We have some features where we can email teams. We have some better information about the modules and the entities in the system. Improvement on stage constraints, and a much asked for integration with Outlook tasks and events. We have some content search and emails and a few more things that I will demonstrate over the next 20-30 minutes. But let's dig into it. First thing I want to talk about is the WorkPoint archiving, which is a completely new product, an add-on to our existing product, but a product in its own right. For those who are not really understanding what I'm talking about, which may be a few of you, since this is mostly aimed at government services or public sector, this is a standard software component for extracting data and records that needs to be delivered to national archives. Most of the Western democracies have national archives that are recording what is going on and saving those for future reference in the public sector and those government or semi-government agencies. And most of the in most of the laws there will be, or acts, there would be an Archives Act stating that these organizations need to deliver information to the archives, and that is a big task, as more and more stuff is stored online, and it's usually very unstructured. What we have done now is we've created a system that can extract this information from a WorkPoint solution, converting it into files and formats that are approved by the government archives, and then delivering it in the format that the archives request. This is currently made to suit the Danish and Icelandic national archives, but the framework and the software is generic, so we will expand this to other countries where they have similar rules and similar needs as we go along. I'm not going to talk more about this or demonstrate a lot of things, but I will, please, if you have need for more information or are interested in hearing more about this, feel free to contact us either directly or through your partner. We can provide more information and we can assistance if you have requirements. So on to the next big thing. I mentioned we have a new architecture. We are actually in the process of changing the way WorkPoint 365 is working. There is a reason for putting on a new architecture, and this is mainly down to Microsoft. As you all know, Microsoft keeps coming out with a lot of products on the Office platform. A lot of new things is happening, and to make sure that we are always in sync with what Microsoft is doing, we have worked hard with our architects and Microsoft to make sure that WorkPoint is constantly integrating those new things and not this way of thinking that Microsoft comes out with. So we are in the process of integrating all these applications and more in WorkPoint. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen in which way, but currently we are changing the way we manage things in terms of how groups works for Microsoft, and we just came out with a change to how we can manage site collections and when you create sites in WorkPoint. There's more information on this on our website, support website, support.workpoint.com, and this is mostly for partners and technical consultants that are setting up WorkPoint. But the point of saying this here is to ensure everybody that we are very focused on what is going on with Microsoft, how are things changing in Microsoft, and how does this affect WorkPoint and WorkPoint customers, to make sure that WorkPoint will stay as a strong product that works together with Microsoft and does not there's not too much overlap. We of course want to improve what Microsoft is already doing, as we've always done, and this is the whole point of this new architecture we're working on. The new architecture is a work in progress. It will continue to evolve over the next releases. Good. Next thing is a feature that some of you might find very useful. The mail to Teams, have we called it. Some of you know that if you have a WorkPoint contact module, you have the ability to right-click and then email contacts through a little wizard. Now we've changed this so on a WorkPoint entity, or rather we expanded it, so on a WorkPoint entity, like for example a project, there might be some project members that you want to email, and you can do this now with a simple right click. I've created this little video to demonstrate how this works. So when you have this project, you're in project module, you have found your project that you want to communicate with. If you right click, you can see the properties, and you can here see who is actually on. This is just something I do to demonstrate, but we have here a couple of people have been created and modified it, and some people are assigned as project team members or project managers, etc. So all of these users, the system will now pick up when you right click and say, okay, let's send an email. Then it'll list the people you just saw before, and I can now choose how to mail them. Who do I want it mailed to? I don't want to send to them who are not part of the project. I want to send to the team, and I want to send to the managers. Simply say okay, and now I have an email which is prepared to send to those people. So a very easy way to communicate to your project team. Another thing we have changed and improved is we've added some module information fields. Now this sounds very technical, and to some extent it is. I'll try to explain it in a language that everybody can see the benefit of. Now, when you look at, for example, a project or another site, any site in WorkPoint really, this is an example. It's the same project we just sent mail to. We have the project name and the project data and the stage model. What we usually couldn't see on the project itself was, where does this come from? When you're looking into the WorkPoint system, you will just see a list of elements, but nothing really told the system that this were a project. Hence, if you wanted to refine your search, there could be a difficulty filtering on, for example, projects. Same thing with, sometimes you want to find projects that are in certain stages, like this one is active. So to manage all this, we have changed, we've added a couple of modules that sits in the system. So whenever you create an element, it'll tell, the system will be told which module does this come from. I tried to list the various projects here and highlighted this project. Now the two new elements, two new fields that has put in place are these two. The business module, basically on a list of projects, this tells me, oh, okay, this item is actually a project. If I'm not in the module, I might not necessarily be able to see this. Again, I have added the stage, so I can start filtering on what stage are we in, and I can use this again for my search. So these two module fields are new, added to the system. Again, a bit technical, maybe not interesting for a lot of end users, but just so you know it has happened, and it can assist in refining your search. It can improve the search features and a lot of other things. Another thing we have changed here is we've improved the stage shift constraints. As you just saw on the other slide, there are stages can be set up, and some of you know can set up stages on all modules to manage the life cycle an element is going through, that being a project or a sale or a support item or whatever you are working with in your WorkPoint system. Now, until now, we've only been able to create restrictions on stages based on what was on the site. For example, I could set a restriction on a stage where we required a certain document should be in place. I'm just going to demonstrate that to make sure you're all with me. Now, if we look at this example, this is a sales module where I have a typical sale set up on a sales module. I go to a specific sale. Here I have a sale stage where I want to change from quote to the next stage, in the case contract. Now the system is set up with a restriction that checks there need to be a contract in my sale, otherwise I cannot change to the stage. Now that contract is a document, so just to make sure this is fulfilled, I'm going to create the document. Finding the right template. And generating the contract. We're skipping the typing of the contract here, assuming we have the right template. So now I have created a contract, as you can see in the list of documents, and now I will change the stage to contract, and this will now happen. So put in stage constraints can be done on all the list items on the site, and until recently it has only been the the documents or the tasks or the emails or whatever is listed in the tab web part that you can use for restrictions. But now we've decided that if sometimes you will simply need to be able to create a restriction based on something on the site itself. Let's assume that in this sales situation there is a requirement that you're not allowed to change a stage unless the proposed value of the sale is more than 500,000. That would be a field on the sale itself. And now you're able to set up restrictions where you say, okay, if the sale is, for example, below 500,000, you cannot change into the quote stage. We simply do not want to quote unless we can have a bigger sale than that, for example. Or there could be heaps of other examples. But basically now you can take any of the elements on a site and use them for restrictions or warnings when the user is going to change a stage. Right. Next thing is the email manager content search. Those of you who are running email manager obviously know it very well. And those of you who are not, I will just briefly say this is the engine that can journalize all of your in and outgoing emails and store it in WorkPoint. Now, obviously, this gives some need for search. And until recently, we've only been able to search on normal metadata, for example, to and from and subject, etc. Now we've expanded this, so when you want to search in the email content, you can do that. This search facility is available from WorkPoint Express. From that little top bar that says email overview, as I've highlighted here. Clicking on that email overview will bring you, as email manager users know, to the expanded view, as we call it. In this view, we have added this little content box where I have put in the search for knowledge. And what is happening here is now I'm searching throughout all content in emails in Email Manager, which can be millions, and finding the word knowledge. So somewhere in this highlighted Microsoft mail, there will be the word knowledge. So now instead of just being able to search on subject and dates and to and from, you can search on the content of emails itself, which greatly, of course, improves the search options. What you should be aware of is that this also requires more storage space in Email Manager. So using this, implementing this will require more storage space. Today, storage is not a big thing. It's very cheap, but just a word of advice. Right. Another thing that has been very asked for is our integration of tasks and events in Outlook. This is a feature that has been existing on WorkPoint on premises for many years, and now it's also available in the cloud, WorkPoint 365. So those of you who are always still using WorkPoint on premise, well, there's no news for you here because this is a cloud feature only. We have been in the making of this for a while because we thought that we would be able to use some other technologies from Microsoft, but Microsoft, sometimes we have to wait for them to provide us the APIs we need, and eventually we could see that there were nothing in sight that would make it smarter than what we already done, so we decided to implement the way it already worked on WorkPoint on premise. So let me demonstrate this. Again, a little video, then we know nothing's going wrong. I have here found my project, Burnett Road Warriors company, and under that I have a project. Let's say I want to set up a meeting, project meeting. So I'll simply create an appointment or an event in my Outlook. I will open WorkPoint Express, and I can now simply drag and drop my project to WorkPoint Express down below, and now I'm attaching this event to my project. If I also want to invite a contact person, I could do that as well. And when I'm doing this, the appointment will change to a meeting invite. As I don't want to send this to Mr. Sonny Burnett, I'll just remove him again. I'll do an internal status meeting, but it works the same way as you usually send any meeting invitation. So do an internal status meeting at the meeting room. Yeah, there's an E missing. It'll be on Monday. So this is all standard Outlook features. And now when I save this, this will end up in my calendar, and it'll also end on the project in WorkPoint. Don't want to open my calendar. You all know how Outlook calendar works. But if I go to my project in my browser, I can see on the Outlook event tab, which have been set up here, there is a new meeting. Same thing with the WorkPoint task. I could do an Outlook task from in here, creating it from the specific button, and it'll open a Outlook task dialog box. So we put in a text and we put a reminder, and it's pretty much like any other Outlook works. Just as you see below, it's connected to the project. So again, saving this will make it end up in my task list in Outlook. So now you can integrate your tasks and events with your Outlook and users Outlook calendar. This requires, of course, that you install the newest version of WorkPoint Express. A small change we've made to the filter on WorkPoint Express, mostly usability, but still it's worth mentioning, and I think some people might not know about this filter feature. WorkPoint is designed so you can set up fields that will help the users filter elements in WorkPoint. For example, projects, very convenient. You can set up a filter that will that'll tell whether this is an active project or not an active project, or whether it will be a project that is managed by me or not managed by me. This means that from a user perspective, I can very quickly filter my own elements from all the rest of the stuff in WorkPoint. Let's just see how this works. This is a very simple demonstration where I have the filter button to the right here, and clicking on that will give me a filter option. In this case, I can filter my items. So clicking my items will apply the filter, and suddenly I have fewer projects here, but these are only projects managed by me. The little red dot indicates that this filter is active. That's mainly the new thing, the little red dot, because it hasn't been visible before. As you can see, it's filtered the project manager as me. So I can switch this filter on and off. Sometimes it's been confusing that people have forgot they applied the filter and couldn't find what they needed. Hence, we've provided this red dot so it becomes visible that the filter has been applied. If you haven't got any filter set up, talk to your WorkPoint partner and they will help you. Finally, another thing that some people know and use a lot and some people don't at all, we have the wizard for saving entities from emails. Now this is a situation where, for example, you get requests from your clients. It might be a support request, it might be contact in various ways where you need to do something or start a process based on this email. There's a little button up here to the right where you see the save entity and email. I have exemplified with this very important information from the canteen and their office. So in this case, we can highlight a mail, click the button, and we will use this little wizard to save the mail in the right place. And if we need to, we can also create a WorkPoint item. I'm going to demonstrate this again with a little video. So clicking this will start the wizard. It'll search for a project. In this case, it found there is a Fairway House active client, but there was no project, so I want to create one. I want to create the lunch project. There's a number of fields I can fill out. I want to check that, yes, you can see the company is actually the Fairway House and it's an active client. Saving this is now creating the project. And now the wizard will tell me, do you want to save this information to Email Manager? If there were any attachments, I could also choose to save these in the document library. And this is simply going through, taking a mail, making sure that it's saved in the right place in WorkPoint. If the right place does not exist, the wizard will assist me to setting this, to creating this right place. As I said, this can be used in a lot of situations. We have some clients are using it to make sure you have the requests coming in from their clients or from their partners is managed and is organized in the right way. And using this also makes sure that you save all the relevant documentation that comes with the email. This pretty much concludes the webinar for today. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you have any further questions, we are more than happy to answer. You can contact your WorkPoint partner. You can check our support or help center on support.workpoint.dk. I'm more than happy to take questions, but it might be a better way to go directly to your WorkPoint partner, as they will probably be much easier to get in touch with. And please have a check at our webinars and sign up for some new elements. Thank you for your time and have a good day.